Hello, listeners. Today we're joined by Sheena Russell, founder and CEO of Made with Local, a Canadian snack brand built on sourcing exceptional ingredients directly from farmers and producers. Now in 3,500 plus retailers nationwide, the brand has scaled with strong commitment to quality and community. We recently received and tasted the Made with Local protein cookies. So they're soft, they're chewy with 16 grams of protein. And oh my goodness, the peanut chocolate chip is officially a favorite. Sheena, we're excited to dig into your journey and how you've grown Made with Local across Canada. So thanks so much for joining us.
No, I'm so excited to chat with you.
Oh, we're stoked. We're really excited for this conversation, especially off the tail of CHFA in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So much, so much activity, so many good things going on over there. But yeah, perhaps we'll just kick it right off. For our listeners, what would you like them to know about Made with Local and your journey up until this point?
Sure. Yeah. So we have been on this very steady, very organic journey to where we've been today. I actually started this company as a farmer's market table 14 years ago in May. It'll be 2012 or 2012 was when we started. Making snacks in my home kitchen, which is so many entrepreneurs' origin story, especially female entrepreneurs. I feel like you hear that story so often where they start in their home kitchen and then, troubleshoot over so many, months or years on how to bring this vision to scale, which is very much the journey for us. So started in 2012 at a little farmer's market table and just kind of have been putting one foot in front of the other from a growth and capacity perspective, but always, in those 14 years, staying very true to our values, which is ultra simple, ingredient sourced with so much care, connections to farmers who are growing this food and storytelling about the journey of this food from, field until they make their way into one of our yummy snacks. And that's something I'm really proud of, is that we've grown a ton since that little 5-foot table, but have been able to maintain like our quality and our integrity of our products.
Oh, so cool.
Can I just say 14 years? That is unheard of.
It's been a long time.
Food manufacturing. And that slow, steady growth. I think everyone wants to be that unicorn.
Yeah.
But slow and steady and keeping that pace. I don't know. I just love hearing that story. And I'm curious, Sheena, did you start off with a contract manufacturer? How did that look like from an operations point of view? I mean, yes, you were in your kitchen. What was sort of those steps as you scaled and grow?
Yeah, so we've had a very unique journey in manufacturing in Made with Local. And I think that part of that, a significant part of that unique journey is because we've, I've been really committed to growing this business in a different way. I use the royal we so often. I also feel like it's a very female thing to do, is not be like, I did this,
Yes, totally.
So, but yeah, it's been a different types of manufacturing models based on the needs and the values of the business for many years. So in the very beginning, we were making things in my home kitchen and then in like a rental kitchen myself to bring to the farmer's market and then some little retailers. I got pregnant with my daughter in 2013. She was born in 2014. So that kind of really forced a decision on, if I was going to keep doing this business, who's making this? Because surely it's not feasible for me. I also had a full-time government job at the time. So there's a lot of, so that kind of forced the decision about working with a manufacturing partner, which for many food businesses is not out of the ordinary. But the manufacturing partner that we chose to work with is actually a social enterprise company based here in Nova Scotia that employs adults with barriers to the mainstream workforce in this sort of vocational training kitchen, which for us, it was such a perfect fit to align with our impact values. And I also think, just even practically, for us in the bar space, there's many manufacturers across the country, but their, MOQs on a run are like 100,000 units per SKU. And we just were nowhere near there. Right. So being able to partner with this organization that's very, geographically close to us, but also aligned values wise, allowed us to just grow really, really in line with the demand of the business. At no point were we ever sitting on tons of inventory and burning all this cash because everything was just kind of being made to order. And we had this really beautiful and longstanding relationship with this organization for like almost 10 years, eight years. Up until a point where we continued to hit capacity constraints in the kind of latter part of that partnership, which is a testament to the success of the business, but ultimately became a point where we were like, all right, we got to swing for the fences here. And we knew that this partner, they were very vocal with us. They're kind of like, we're capped, we love, very connected to this company. But decisions had to be made. So we like to say that we like graduated from their program. It was a very like mutually amicable next step in the company. But what we then did was bought an 8,000 square foot facility in rural Nova Scotia that I'm sitting in right now. You can probably hear people in the back.
Yeah, that's good.
We want that.
Work is being done.
We want this
Not only is work being done, these guys also, I should ask them to tone it down. Like lots of karaoke in the bakery. So if you're hearing like yelling, I swear to God that everybody is safe. They're just singing.
That is amazing.
But we bought an 8,000 square foot building. We absolutely gutted it. We've built it up into being, SQF certified, organic certified facility. We employ about a dozen people here. As you can probably tell, the team is like very close. We really have prioritized, a really fun and supportive culture here. And it's been amazing. So we did our first production runs out of this building in September of 2022. So,
wow.
About 3.5 years at this point, and just getting better all the time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. What a journey, and what a cool growth journey and personal journey. And then what I'm hearing is relationships across as a continuous theme, with manufacturers, but then also with your team as you're growing this business.
Yeah.
I'm curious, going back to the beginning, what inspired you for, to really dive into this category specifically? What did you start off with bars, and what was that aha moment where you're like, let's go, let's dig into this space and provide the next level quality that we really want to achieve here? I'm curious about that.
I do feel like I kind of stumbled into this. I definitely stumbled into this level of scale. It was, or I shouldn't say stumbled, but like it was never on my, vision board to be running the international snack foods manufacturer. I grew up in a farming community in PEI, close to my grandparents' farm, spent all my time there as a kid, and then moved here to Nova Scotia to do an environmental science degree at Dal, and very much thought that was going to be my my career path. And it was for a few years, but, I got a little restless in that time, just being somebody who's, creative and was looking for something fun to do. And that really a very flippant conversation with a friend of mine who was involved in the business in the earliest years. She and I were like, why don't we just do something fun? And this idea of because the farm, we actually worked in a same big building where on the weekends there was a farmer's market. So it was a municipal government office building that on the ground floor had a farmer's market every Wednesday and Saturday. So it was just this idea of let's do something fun. I had a food blog at the time. So I was having some fun with recipe development and photography and marketing my food blog, even though it literally never made a cent. But I think I kind of dipped my toes in. And then, we got to the market with these really yummy snacks. And, you talk about, pardon the pun, but product market fit. You could possibly have better product market fit than in your hometown, using ingredients that are also sourced at the same market that you are selling, because all these customers are here for these vendors, for these people. It was a real easy sell there for several years. And then the demand came to start pushing into smaller retailers, natural health food stores and that kind of thing. So it was really, it felt like we had a lot of pull in those early years, and still do, right? But to different degrees, where it's just been okay, just problem solving, a foot in front of the next. And as we know, there's lots of problems and lots of fires to be put out in all the time, which, I love, but it keeps you on your toes.
Amazing. You said international food manufacturing business. So are you currently exporting or plans to export?
Yeah. Yeah. So we were doing a decent amount of export up until last year, a lot of direct to consumer. So our online shop is very active. It's a significant part of our business. About 30% of our revenues come from online sales. And we were doing a ton of e-commerce into the States up until about a year ago when we all know what happened. But we are still doing some shipping into the US, contract level stuff, smaller contracts. But then also, we've shipped into Europe before. We're actively looking into opportunities to do export, across the Pacific. There's lots of, especially here in Canada, there's a lot of motivation to be prioritizing export as a manufacturing business. So we're really excited to jump on that train.
Amazing. I
Yeah,
know.
thanks for walking us through that. That's it's so exciting to hear the growth and also kind of the next step. I'm curious, going back, selling locally to that first perhaps larger retailer, like what was that journey for yourselves as you started to expand to different retailers?
The learning curve is so steep, honestly. Like, I had no idea about, like, the first time that we ever sold into, like, a coffee shop, for example, I, like, brought the bars in like, a little, cardboard box, and the lady working the front desk was like, "Okay, you're just gonna send me an invoice?" And I was like, "I don't know what an invoice is." I had my, like, dollar store, like, receipt, like,
Yeah, the book.
like, pad,
Yeah.
and I would, like, write stuff in there, but I was like, "Is this a receipt?" Because they would pay me out of the till, so I would just
Okay.
but then
Oh.
point they're like, "Okay, just send us an invoice." And I was like, "Okay, I literally don't know what that means." So, like, I've had to learn from that level of, how this world operates. Obviously, in line with this podcast themes, like navigating the world of, food safety to, the level that we expect of our products and ourselves, which is high. And yeah, just there and compliance stuff, like even like, how do you get a UPC code? How does that, do I have to pay for it? Do I just punch it in on a like internet tool? Like, yeah, there's been so many steps of problem solving. And again, like, I was doing a lot of this in like 2014, 15, 16. Like, this is well before ChatGPT. This is before like even Google had like a breadth of knowledge on this stuff. Yeah, the learning curve has been super steep. And there's been periods where it's been astronomically steep, and then times where we're able to kind of hit our stride for the next, couple of years. The biggest learning curves are probably like in the very beginning, and then in this era of like scaling up into mass grocery, and then the entire, business plan shift to becoming a manufacturer, which is a very different type of business model than, just doing, or I shouldn't say just doing, but it's a very different business model than co-manufacturing. There've been some big leaps.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I can imagine, from you were working with that partner 10 years ago, and then having your own facility, figuring out which equipment, possibly reformulating your formulas to fit the equipment, right? Because I'm assuming it's a guillotine line for your bars, some sort of water cutter for your pucks. And so you have to really reformulate. But I'm curious, as a product developer Christine and I work in innovation. How do you come up with flavors, and what do you do? What's your innovation pipeline like?
So our bars are very much the same as they have been since day one. Of course, there's been tweaks based on, our processes and what our manufacturing lines need. But, the ingredients deck on our blueberry almond butter bar is the same today as it was 14 years ago.
Amazing.
Wow. It's a tasty bar, by the way. It's so good.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
Yeah. But it hasn't changed. The proportions, we're tweaking within and optimizing for, taste and nutrition and manufacturing needs. But it's all been within the scope of this same ingredients list. So I love that. And I feel like that's been like a really, a good way to build trust with our consumers too, because they can rely on this thing that they've been enjoying for so long. So yeah, there's been slight tweaks on the bar line. The protein cookies were a completely new innovation for us. We had never worked, in that cookie format before. We have a vacuum extruder for that. That's a very different piece of equipment than we'd ever used before. Setting up like a one, what's it called? Like a single line that like the extruder goes directly into the flow wrapper. That's been a huge, like, if you could see where we came from, even when we were in this building, like in the earliest days, we were effectively hand cutting bars, rolling them out into pans. Like, it was extremely, extremely rudimentary. And now we're running these, tip to tail full. You can probably hear the air compressor going out there.
I can hear it.
I love it.
So the protein cookies, though, were a very different innovation for us, where we're using some novel ingredients like a organic Canadian grown pea protein, and just like some more functionality. That was really fun. And in the innovation pipeline right now, more than ever, I think we're really trying to focus on what our customer wants. Times are changing. People are looking for different sort of macros and different sort of, flavor profiles. And that's something that we've got some really fun stuff in the pipeline for. But to go back to your question about flavors, even, since day one, we've been really focused on using ingredients that are accessible and approachable to us here in Canada. So of course, oats are our number one ingredient. We source this incredibly beautiful, regenerative, organic, certified oat from the prairies. Nut butters are going to be our second ingredient. Of course, nuts don't grow at scale in Canada, but we work with two very, very established family-owned companies, one in Ontario and one in New Brunswick, that have been making nut butters for literally decades, and have that transparent sourcing of their inputs. And then another important ingredient that you're going to find in all of our foods is an organic honey from the western part of Canada. So just, almost using what is accessible to us as the framework, or almost kind of like the boundaries of where we play. And I do, I feel like I've heard the quote, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but boundaries or constraints are where creativity can flourish, because you to kind of work within that. So that's really been kind of our story when it comes to flavor innovations and what's ahead of us in terms of the overlap between the functional requests of our customer, and then also the world that we play in, which is this Canadian, whenever possible, very sustainable and transparent supply chain.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I love that whole constraints piece, because that's so true. Because if we had so many different options, then it's well, there's so many different options.
Yeah.
And whether you're thinking about product formulation to processing capabilities, thinking about, are there constraints? How do we thinking about scale? That's where I think the most creative moments come from, and developments come from as a result. So I think I just love that. And looking at your deck, your ingredient deck, I've got the protein cookies here, and they're so good. I love the texture, the flavor, super clean. You guys did a really wonderful job at the formulation. So it's congratulations to yourself and team on that one. And it just feels local, right? To your point, being very intentional about which ingredients you're choosing. They all have a purpose. 16 grams of protein. Come on. That's that's awesome. And oh my gosh, 10 grams of fiber. Oh, okay. 10 grams of fiber.
They say fiber is the new protein. So
it is. I don't even get Laura and I started on fiber. That is a whole conversation.
We are ready to showcase all the fiber trends coming out of CJA and Expo West next week. So, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So you were at CHFA, Vancouver, saw the booths, taste products, met some of your team members, which is just so lovely.
Yeah.
What's next? What are you excited for in 2026? I know we are just flying through this year. It's crazy.
It does feel like it's flying. And our fiscal starts August 1st. So we're already in Q3 here at Made with Local, which feels crazy. But yeah, this year is going to be another doozy for us. We've got some really exciting innovations in the pipeline that are in line with, these balances of fiber and protein. Always that very clean ingredient stack. We get feedback from our customers all the time. They're like, I love your protein cookies, but I have to eat them, between two sittings because they're really big. So have you ever thought about doing something a little more snack size, or different flavor requests? And even we get asked all the time to bring our oatmeal back. We used to make an oatmeal, and we're going to bring that back, which is great because I love that product too. And then some innovation that's kind of well outside of what we're currently doing, but well inside our ingredients ethos, which feels really fun. And from a business perspective, we've got this amazing manufacturing facility that we're looking to keep rocking at. So we're looking really interestingly actually at some private label contracts with some large retailers. That's a place that we want to start dabbling. And there's just we've got many irons on the fire right now.
Jam-packed.
2026.
2026. Well, we are reaching the end of our podcast, Christine, for our favorite part, where we get to ask you a question from a previous guest. Christine, I'm going to pass on the torch to you.
Oh my gosh. Well, this whole conversation has been my favorite. Oh gosh, learning so much. This has been wonderful. So thank you. Okay, so question from previous guests. So our last guest was Steve Thorpe, CEO, co-founder of Before. They've got some really wonderful clean toothpaste. So his question to you, not knowing that you'd be the next guest, is where's a place? So he context Steve. Steve travels a lot, and this is kind of like this infusion of thoughts. So where's a place or space that has infused new ideas or new inspirations into your life or slash business?
I love this question. This is going to be a very stereotypical answer for a maritimer, but the places where I've had some serious breakthroughs has been like on the beach, like walking down the beach. Not usually, in July and like the perfect heat. It's usually like in April when it's still cold and you're just bundled up and you're like, I'm just going to go for a walk on the beach. Or, in October, like these sort of like off season, very quiet moments where you're just walking, as far as you can down the beach and hearing the sounds and hearing the water. And it's just this like extremely serene place where you can just kind of think big. I think I always feel motivated to think really big and outside of the box that I think we always put ourselves in that space. It's an expansive space, and I just find I can get really creative there. So that's been one of my favorite places to have big breakthroughs is walking down a cold beach.
Love that. Oh, I love that. I can relate. We're on the West Coast and we're like Lake area. I'm just like beach, cold, raining, whatever.
Wind. Yep. All that.
I love that. Oh, that's good. I got the visual too.
Yeah.
Well, Sheena, it's your turn.
Okay.
What question would you like to ask our next
Ready to
guest?
write this down.
We are ready.
So my question is, if you've had to kill off a product, if you've come to the very tricky fork in the road where you're just thinking, okay, something's got to die, something's got to go. What led you to that point? And, was it hard? Was it hard for you to say goodbye to something that you've created?
Oh my God. Skew
That's a great question.
rationalization. The worst part. I
Rationalization.
hate it so much.
It's hard.
It's the worst.
It's hard.
Yeah, especially
You got to do it. You've got to do it.
Yeah, for founders too, like we often, more often than not, get kind of emotionally attached to our babies. And sometimes it can be hard to like accept that something's not performing as well as it needs to or whatever, and you got to give it the boot. So that's
to put energy into that next. Yeah, absolutely.
It never dies. It just gets repurposed.
New ideas get.
New ideas.
Do you know what I love on that note? So Ben and Jerry's ice cream has something they call their flavor graveyard. And I think in one of their buildings or somewhere you can actually like see a mural of like all the flavors that have been put to rest. And I just love that so much.
That is so cool. That's a cool idea.
That's a great idea. I feel like I've killed so many products. That is great. Thank you so much for sharing. And do you have your own personal example that you'd like to share? Maybe a tough one, maybe a tricky flavor that you're just like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. And you think about the time when you created it.
We had a product called our granola bar mix. So it was like a baking mix to make your own bars of ours at home, which kind of came from this place of, we've been asked literally since the very beginning of the company to do nut-free for school safe. And we've just never had the right manufacturing facility to be able to accommodate that. So my idea was, well, if I make a mix, people can take it home. They can put sunflower seed butter in it or whatever and make their own bars for home. It got really popular through the COVID era because everybody was baking and, it was the banana bread and the sourdough and then the granola bars. We even had a Costco rotation or a couple Costco rotations with this product.
Oh, lovely.
And then, eventually it just kind of slid off the radar and we were like, okay, it's time to go. So we did discontinue it, but people still ask us about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's a great example. And we just changed. We change as consumers and things can come back around and who knows, right? But it's to be able to admit that and move on to that next thing. So, thanks for sharing that example. Well, Sheena, what a joy to be for this opportunity to have a conversation with you, to learn more about you and all of your business. And, very curious, and I'm sure our listeners are curious as well. Where's the best place to find you? And of course, your products and all that jazz.
Yeah. So in retail, we're in pretty much every major retailer across the country. Walmart, Loblaw stores, Sobeys, Safeways, all those guys. And then online, you can find us on our online shop. We do, like I mentioned, lots and lots of shipping from our online shop. We're also on Amazon. So yeah, there's definitely lots of places to find us to pick up product. And then just who and how we are on the internet, you can find us at madewithlocal.ca and then Instagram at madewithlocal.
Amazing. We'll put all those in the show notes. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys. This is so fun.
Great.
What?
Perfect.
And scene.